William Afton, good villain or overused story device? The character has been spammed more than the closed door button in this franchise, but that doesn't mean he's a good character. What makes him good? What makes him bad? And what score would I give him 1 out of 10? Welcome back to Villain Review, let's find out. Businessman, entrepreneur. Some of the earliest things we learn about William is that he's a driven guy who's very determined. So determined, in fact, when he meets a man named Henry, who's an engineer whiz, the two open up Fredbear's Family Diner, a Chuck E. Cheese type restaurant where the kids can vibe with some pizza, some entertainment. Not the dope kind of entertainment either, like in Practical Jokers, but the kind of creepy animatronic singers who nobody seems to question for some reason. Now here's the thing, the lore is messy, very messy. I don't understand it, and every source I went to for information, they didn't understand it either, so just roll with it, okay? Life's good, right? William has a pizza place, a family, so what does he do next? He kills his partner's daughter. I don't know, just go with it. There are some theories as to why he does this. Maybe he's jealous of Henry's family. Maybe it's to experiment. Who really knows? It also might have to do something with William losing one of his own children. See, what happens is his oldest son, Michael, right? He puts his brother, Evan, he goes, hey, you're scared of the animatronics? I'm gonna put your head inside of the animatronic. That's a great prank. The animatronic malfunctions and it crushes the child's skull. And murder via one of the location's performers, it's good enough reason to close the place down. Losing his own child, maybe enjoying killing Henry's daughter, William would go on to become a straight up serial killer. First rule of Five Nights at Freddy's lore, say it with me, never ask why. Good, you're getting it. Putting on one of the suits to gain children's trust, William would go on to kill 5 more children, eventually getting caught and released because the bodies can't be found. Where are those suckers? They're in the robots. He's sneaky like that. Damn justice system. It's rigged. It's broken. So those kids, right? The ones he killed, don't worry. It's a normal story. They end up possessing the pizza animatronics. I know, but don't worry. It gets way more normal from here. I wouldn't do that to you. So William opens up another store with new robots to kill new children so he can get this thing called Remnant, which is a supernatural substance that can make him immortal. Don't you dare ask why. Don't even think about it. He kills a bunch of other people, but we're gonna skip over that because, again, messy. However, things get a little more interesting when he accidentally awakens the possessed robots of the kids he killed earlier, and they're rightfully pissed. So they try to take revenge against him and kill him. Running out of options, William hides in a safe room and decides his best hiding place is in a spring Bonnie suit, hoping if he looks like them, it would be enough to trick the murder ghost robots trying to kill him. His plan would backfire though, causing the suit's gears and endoskeleton to spring back to life, killing him and trapping him in the suit. At least it's over, guys. No more stuff. No more confusion, okay? Except he gets brought back to life as a killer robot. He's pretty much mortal now, too. Honestly, this lore is so messy, it's crazy. Granted, I'm not super familiar with the whole story, but even my lack of knowledge isn't excuse enough to let this inconsistent and sporadic story make sense or pass off as a decent motive. It sucks too because it is kind of interesting and there is a decent story and origin somewhere hidden here, but it's obvious a clear outline wasn't made for the story, which is very big and complex and probably needed an outline. Because of that, the story feels like it's just being made up along the way, and unfortunately, we never really get to know William and why he does what he does. Some villains are just crazy too, and that makes sense, but again, we never really know William enough to even understand him as a character. It's pretty unfortunate.
Begins to damage the animatronic and decrease its value. Begin audio prompt in 3, 2, 1.
It's tough because while we know a lot about the character, we don't exactly know a lot about what drives him. He's very confusing because of that, and because the story isn't as traditional as to give us cutscenes, we don't even know what he's like and the tone in which he performs a lot of these acts. There are certain absolutes we can deduce though from what we know, the first two of which, the guy's freaking nuts, and he's evil as hell. We don't really need to know why he kills people to say he's an incredibly evil character who probably enjoys killing kids, which is awful, but it helps make him a scarier character. That's another thing too, he is a scary character, due in part to the deeds he commits, but also the way he commits them. Dressing up as a fun mascot to trick kids is undoubtedly evil, and the design of these Five Nights at Freddy's characters It's legit incredible. I love that Springtrap suit he wears because it hits that balance of feeling somewhere in the middle ground of dead and alive, mechanical and organic. The fact it looks like the suit is rotting and falling apart makes the design so much better and pretty seamlessly matches the tone and character of Afton stuck inside. I wish we knew more about his personality though, because I think it would help us a lot as far as knowing him as a character and not so much as a citation. In doing research, it didn't even feel like he was a character all the time, more of a story device to explain things and have some resemblance of a connected story. Not really any scenes to talk about here, because we never really see any of those big moments happen. I know I've said this the whole video, but it feels like a very messy story, kind of like the COD Zombies one, but way more complicated. Yeah, that's right. Never thought I'd say that. Something's more complicated than the COD Zombie story. There's not even that much for me to dissect here because there's no traditional cutscenes, and even the big moments like his own death in that Springlock suit, it's all like pixelated and might not even make sense without knowing the context of what's happening. So instead, I'm going to take some time to talk about why the story doesn't really work. First of all, it's very clear to me that the premise was made first and a story second that was already playing catch up. A good story is about characters, and the actions of those characters create events. But this franchise kind of feels backwards. It feels like a list of events created certain characters to try and connect things, but because of that, it's obvious they're more tools than interesting characters themselves. Even the franchise's main character, Michael, we don't even know that much about him outside of what he does. He has to connect events together for them to make sense, rather than events making sense because of his actions as a character. There's no reason for any of this to happen, and I think it's my big fault with this franchise. What sucks about William Afton is if the story was planned out from the start, I think he actually would have been a really cool character. But instead, he's way too messy and in general is way too complicated without really any reason for the actions he performs. If anything, maybe now the story is laid out, the movies can adapt it better, but we'll see. I'm still not really convinced of that. He's still a really evil character, and as far as being sadistic and hateable, he pulls that off really well. It almost feels like a real serial killer the way we only get pieces of info here and there, which is cool, but at the end of the day, it's a story, and you kind of want him to be a character and not some plot device to just thread the story together. I could be wrong about some of this lore, so if I am, let me know in the comments, and if I'm that wrong, I'll make an update. No theories though, I need evidence. I need cold hard evidence. Until then, I'm gonna give William Afton a 4. Thank you so much for watching New Villain Review every single week. Check it out, bye.